Well, hello traders, and welcome to today's daily watch list. Today we have a very intense day news-wise with the ECB monetary policy statement and the interest rate decision, which is expected to be at zero. And later on the day we have inflation data from the US, the CPI. Right, let's have a look at the news terminal to see what, we haven't had a lot of news hitting the markets, the wires. Right now, really, we haven't had anything. We had, Italy industrial production, but everybody's waiting. The markets are waiting for that monetary statement from the ECB. Look at this. Commodities trader Trafigura posts record net profit at 2.1 billion in first half of the year, ending March 31. That's amazing, right? So let's have a look at at the charts, right? We're going to have a look at the US dollar. Well, in early European trade, the US dollar rallied to the 90.27. Well, this is the DXY, right? To a 90.29 level, right? And we're going to have a look at the 4-hour chart to see where we are right now. So we are still trading inside of this range, right? With the bottom on the DXY being around the 89.67, 89.53, I'm sorry. But we do have this very, very strong level in the middle of the range, right? If we look closely, after sellers jumped in here, we had this massive rejection candle, then a fake out, and then again sellers jumping in, and again sellers jumping in. This is a 4-hour chart. This 4-hour candle has not closed yet, but buyers are jumping in higher and higher, right? Higher and higher. Now, this is just technicals on the DXY, of course. Well, let's go have a look at the hourly chart. Now, the hourly chart looks something like this, right? We came to test June 7th. Let's have a look. June 7th is Monday's highs. We came here to test Monday's highs, right? Just kind of breaking out of that range, but again, sellers were positioned here. And we had that big rejection. Now, this kind of a channel that DXY is trading in looks extremely bearish, right? Just technicals, just speaking about technicals. Now, we do have some a very strong area of support right here, of course, and we have the weekly pivot in the green, as you can see it here. Now, if price breaks with today's lows, which is this, it would actually break with this structure, and we could see the US dollar fall even further, right? Now, these again are just technicals on the DXY. We need to wait for that CPI to hit the wires. Now, let's have a look at what's expected, right? The last month on the CPI on the United States were 0.8 growth. And it's expected to come at 0.4. Now, if the number comes 0.4, this is going to be bearish for the US dollar, right? And if it misses expectations, or if it misses forecasts, and it comes even lower than 0.4, this is going to be even more bearish for the USD. Right now, we are looking very carefully for setups, and the one that I am personally looking at is the Euro USD. Let's have a look at the 4-hour chart on the Euro USD. Now, this doesn't look like much, but again, with the ECB monetary policy to hit the wires, etc., we're not going to be taking a position on the euro so close to the announcement, which is in about 2.5 hours to be exact. Right now it's 3:14 a.m. here. and we're expected to hear from the ECB at 5:45 a.m. So we still have a long ways to wait, but it would be front running that announcement. And that, my friends, it's something that we don't do. That's gambling, right? Because we don't know the language that is going to be put out on the statement. And we need to wait for the first reaction, and maybe we can find a buy on the Euro USD, expecting a lower CPI on the US, which would push the Euro US dollar higher, right? So that's the Euro USD. We have that US dollar, Canadian dollar. But again, we are still trading. This is a 4-hour chart. Again, we are still trading inside of this range at the bottom of a very, very strong bearish move. So, what we're looking at is a break of the 121.50 level, right? A break of this range that we have been trading for about a month. If you look at that, we have we started trading inside of this range about May 17th or so. You know, this range is untradeable for us, and we are waiting for that breakout, right? So if we get that breakout, we could easily look for targets around the 2250, right? Which is, hold on, which is where I am going to be looking for sales on the US dollar CAD, right? This is my my power sell zone. But I mean, we don't know if this zone is going to hold. We don't know if this range is going to break. So we can only position ourselves for that that plan, right? That scenario. Now, on the hourly, again, with the USD CAD, I'm sorry, with the DXY falling from the highs, we are seeing a very big rejection of the 121.40 level, and if we break with today's lows, we could see even further downside on the US dollar, Canadian dollar, right? Let's have a look at some metals now. Let's have a look at the 4-hour chart in gold right here. Okay, so right now there is absolutely no setup in gold on the 4-hour chart, right? We are trading below the weekly pivot. We are trading below the previous kind of a base, right? Well, if you look at this, if you look at like this, right, and position this key level at this spike low. Why I'm positioning my key level at this spike low? Well, because this is where buyers jump in. Even though this move to the upside was clearly not as strong as the move that we have seen in the past, but we printed a new high, right? And again, here and here we could see the same story. Right now we are trading below that level, below the weekly pivot. The previous 4-hour candle printed a very, very strong rejection, or a very wide wick to the bottom of the candle. But again, there's no setup to do anything right now. If we look at the hourly, right? Let's have a look at the hourly. So let me just delete some of these levels. So on the hourly, we can clearly see that this might be just a breakout retest of this previous level, right? So in the meantime, we are staying away from metals, right? Because what we want to do is we want to buy metals, right? We want to buy gold, but at the moment, we don't. I mean, I don't see anything that I would put money on, right? Maybe if we hit that 1873 level, this previous, if you look at this was a head and shoulders, right? The previous base of the head and shoulders, that could be a zone. But again, I'm really unclear about the direction, short term in this market, right? But on the 4-hour chart, the level that I would really want to see hit is the 1860, right? The 1860 level for possible buys, right? Now, if gold breaks with the 1860 level, now that's another story. Okay, if we have a clean break of the 1860 level, we could see a lot more downside here. Now, if we break with the 1860, the next level that I would be looking at will be the 1844 or so. All right, that's gold. Let's have a look at silver. Silver is the same story. We are going to have a quick look at the hourly in silver. Very non-directional. I mean, the last, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. The last week of trading has been very non-directional in silver. And let's just delete this. Let's just delete all the levels, and I'm going to put them on my chart. So right now, we haven't tested the lows of the range, but we are, however, rejecting. Let's call it the top of that zone at the bottom of the range, right? Again, there's no setup to go long in silver, but well, because the immediate structure is bearish, right? Let's put on some channels here. It seems like it's breaking this area, right? But we are still trading below the weekly pivot, and this zone right here, the previous broken base, is going to be very hard for buyers to break through. Now, if price rallies above this zone and above the weekly pivot, I could be looking for buys at the retest of the 2780 around this level right here, right? That's a silver. Let's have a look at some equities. The DAX. Well, the DAX, it's quite interesting in the sense that if we look at the daily, right? If we look at the daily, just by looking at the daily, these previous highs right here, let me grab my brush, these previous highs right here, where, again, we saw sellers right before the breakout of this flat triangle is holding, right? Again, on the daily, this is just to look at the overall direction in this market. If we look at the 4-hour chart, it's the same story, right? Those highs are really, really holding in the DAX. Very, very strong rejection here at the 15. Let's call it the 15. The 15. 540, right? But we are not out of the woods just yet, in the sense that we are trading in a let's call it short-term to mid-term bearish structure, right? Now, we have printed a lower high, but this lower high, in my opinion, has not been yet validated, in the sense that we are still printing lower highs. I'm sorry, these are lower lows, right? And this is a higher low. So if price break with these highs, I could see myself going long on a. The thing is that this trade would be a 1-to-1 to first targets, not even 1-to-1 to first targets. So the risk to reward would be off here, so I wouldn't take it. But if this level holds and we have a break and retest of the previous highs right here, let's have a look at the hourly to have a better notion of what I'm talking about, right? So the hourly, you can see that this is the level that sellers are protecting, right? And again, the lows are where buyers are positioned. So if we have a clean break of today's highs, right, the weekly pivot or so, and a clear rejection of this level, we could in fact get a much better risk to reward ratio on a long position, right? To target the these highs right here around the 15,700. Let's call it 15,720, right? And that would be TP1, right? If we go back to the daily chart On the DAX, you can see that we're talking about all-time highs here. So, if you're looking at this, if this makes sense to you, you need to be careful with that. The FTSE, again, the FTSE, it's has been non-directional for the past week or so. As you can see it here on the hourly. Let's just have a look at the 4-hour chart. And on the 4-hour chart, to me, there's no setup to go long here. I wouldn't short the FTSE, right? Because we're printing a flat triangle. So if we print a new higher low, we could get a very nice risk to reward ratio on a long position. But again, this is just me planning for specific scenarios, right? Let's go ahead and let's have a look at some US equities. The S&P 500 on the 4-hour chart. Again, I think this is all-time highs. Let's have a look at the daily. Yeah, this is all-time highs, of course. So that level is clearly being hard for buyers to break through. And this is very different than the scenario on the DAX. Why? Because this is not a flat triangle. This is more like a rising wedge or so, something like this. And I wouldn't short the S&P 500, but the last time that we were trading at these levels, we saw a big move to the downside of about 5%. So if we break with today's lows and the weekly pivot, we could see some bearishness, right? And if the CPI data comes negative, this is going to be bearish for equities. Cool. But again, the risk to reward ratio, the risk to reward ratio here is kind of to first targets, right? It's much better, but it is, however, a risky trade because it's a setup against the midterm direction of this market, right? And of course, with the Federal Reserve printing as much money as they can, and maintaining their asset purchasing program, that is, of course, keeping equities higher and higher. Let's finish off by looking at the Nasdaq. Now, the Nasdaq on the daily, right? The Nasdaq on the daily is trading above this previous broken base, right? I was looking for shorts right around this time, and I didn't take this trade, right? I didn't take this trade, and that would have been a bull trap of some sort. But price has stabilized right above the previous broken highs. So this is not a scenario to go short on the Nasdaq, because we are trading above the previous broken highs. So if price breaks again lower and breaks with this is a 4-hour chart, yes, with the midterm bullish structure, right, we could see price drop again. This is just a plausible scenario. On the upside, things are quite different, right? So if price stabilizes or stays above this level, we could, in fact, look for longs to target that 1470 level. But we need to wait for that data out of the US. And what might happen, right, is that we get a spike low, right, to test the to test the weekly pivot and today's lows, or even a spike low to test this previous level, and then a rally. So both scenarios are very plausible. We need to wait for that data, and remember that data is just short term. The reaction is short term, right? And we need to focus on the direction of the market. So this is, let's have a look at, let's finish up by looking at some cryptocurrencies, and let's have a look at Bitcoin because let's start by looking at the 4-hour chart. Now the 4-hour chart, now this is what I was looking for in Bitcoin. Have a look at this. This is what I was looking for in Bitcoin, right? To jump higher, right? And retest this previous level, creating you can see it on the 4-hour chart. So I'll grab the 1-hour chart, creating this, right? A continuation pattern right there at the highs of the structure, which is about to break. And in my opinion, right now we could have a great risk to reward on a long in Bitcoin, right? So heads up to that, because Ethereum, I think, is the same thing, but the trade in Bitcoin is much clearer, right? Thank you, and trade safe.